Just touched down in Victoria. They actually ran out of A and B planes, so I took that little guy there. I'm gonna wander around the city, find some food to eat, and then we're heading straight to the casino. It is 10:30 a.m. It's really early to degen it up, but I want to get in the games and then go out tonight. I'm gonna take you guys around and check out the city. Welcome to episode 43. Alright guys, welcome to the hands. I got angled a lot in this game. I'm not going to discuss it during the hands because it's just going to be fucking riled up. But I will discuss it in the outro. So in this hand, I've been very card dead. I sit down with $800. Almost everyone else is in for $300. Button open limps to $5, so now we can't chop. Small blind raised to 15. I make the call with 3 deuce of clubs in the big blind, and button folds. Up to a flop of king 6 4 2 clubs. Small blind checks it over. Definitely going to bet here with 3 high and a flush draw, so I make it 20. My opponent calls. Turn's great. We turn the flush right away. He checks it over to me. I look over his chips, and it looks like he's got about 270 behind, so I bet $40 here. And he makes the call. River is the 6 of spades pairing the board, and now my opponent leads out for some amount. I remember looking over, he had 220 behind, so I just go ahead and stick it all in. And my opponent calls and shows the king 9 of clubs. And also shows the 200 or something in greens he was hiding in his hand, but I'll discuss that at the end. Not a great hand played by me, though. Topped off my stack to 800 again. We got a button straddle on, and small blind, big blind, and under the gun have called. And I'm going to bump this up big, because players are just not folding here, and I want to get it down to heads up with my king-jack offsuit mid-position. So I make it $70, and we go 5 ways to a flop, which comes out really nice. Ace-king-jacks, we got bottom 2. Small blind now leads for about 195. This is pretty early on in this session, but this guy's led into me like 90% of the hands we played, just smashing every flop against me. Now big blind reshoves for 580. The player to my right folds, and now it's on me with bottom 2 here. Oh, that sucks. If I had ace-king, I wouldn't be able to fold. Ace-jack would be really close, and I think king-jack, we just have to throw up and let it go. So I toss my hand in the muck, and actually small blind calls out of turn while I'm asking him for a count. And so many angles this session, man. But I fold it. Small blind makes the call, and run out is 6 and a queen, and small blind shows the ace jack, and big blind shows the queen 10 suited. So yeah, we managed to get away from that one for pretty cheap there. In this next hand, we pick up ace 10 of spades in the hijack, and we're facing a limp, so I bump it up to $25, and we get the button, who's a pretty short stack, who calls, as well as the original limper. So 3 ways to a flop is really nice. It's 10 9 4 2 spades. Checks to me. I start with a small bet of 25. In this game, I really should have been sizing up to like pot here, but button calls and low jack folds. Off to the turn, which is a nice deuce of clubs blank. My opponent's got about 2 SPRs, so we're going to go for it all here, about 60% on the turn. Bet 75, and he quickly makes a call. Hoping for a blank river to jam it all in. Unfortunately, we get the jack of hearts. Besides, probably the 8 of hearts. This might be the worst card in the deck, so I'm going to check it over and most likely fold. But my opponent quickly checks it back, so I show my hand, and it's good. We pick up a pot. Button straddle is live. Small blind and under the gun have completed. I've got ace queen off and under the gun +2. Normally I'd be raising this to 50, but in this game I'm going to make it even larger, so I go 60. Player to my left makes the call. Then it gets around to the button, who jams his short stack all in for 130. Now under the gun folds, and now it's back on me. Door is now open. I'm going to be reshoving this, so I go all in here. And now middle position, who is the angler from the first hand, who claimed that he folded king-jack when I also had king-jack for bottom 2, is now in the tank with 6-3 suited, and he covers me. So I'm going to wait here for 20 seconds of my life while he tanks with 6-3 suited. Eventually, he finds a full with 6-3 suited. Amazing play. And cutoff also makes a call. So we're 3 ways all in to a flop of queen 9-7, 2 diamonds. Amazing. Turn is the 10 of diamonds. River is the 7 of spades. I table my hand. Cutoff has queen 10 suited, so we're not going to win the main pot. And button has king jack off for the turn straight, so we're not going to win the side pot either. This session is not going our way. Moving things along, we have a hijack limp, and I've got Jack 10 off in the button. I really want to ISO this player because he has just lost his fold button. It is gone, so I make it 25 in position with Jack 10 off, and he makes the call. He goes a pretty good flop of Jack 7-3 Rainbow. When it checks to me, I really should be betting this against this player, but I do just check it back, and we go to a turn, which is quite nice. Another Jack. He checks it over, and we're going to start going for some value here. I bet 25, and he makes the call. Off to a river, which is the 5 of clubs, pretty much a blank. And it's clear he has something at this point, and he just doesn't fold. So my sizing is going to be stupid. I make it 100. I could honestly go like 150, but yeah, I go 100, and he makes the call. Our hand is obviously good, and yeah, I missed out on a ton of value there. I could definitely have stacked him this hand, but just playing a bit too cautious. Okay, we're starting to pick up some hands. I've got King Queen suited mid position, and I open it up to $20. We get quite a few callers, so we're 4 ways to a flop of 8, 8, 7, 1 club. 4 ways, I'm just going to check this back. And we see a really nice turn in the 10 of clubs, so we do pick up some equity. We still have 2 overs as well as the flush draw, so I start betting here for $30. And we do get 1 call from the big blind. So off to a river, which is amazing. The 4 of clubs, we make the pretty much the nuts as far as the hand played out, and he checks it to me. And this player, I've seen him make a ton of hero calls, and every time he just says I put them on ace king. So I'm gonna go for a big size here, make it look like a bluff. I put up 125, and he's in the tank with pocket threes, no club. And he almost calls. He counts out calling chips, but eventually thinks better of it and manages to find the fold. Unfortunate. All right, we have the player who led out in the small blind on the king-jack hand. He is raised up to 15, and I've got ace-queen off in the cutoff. So I 3-bet to $50, and only he makes the call, which is insane for this game. Off to a flop of king-jack 4 rainbow. Pretty good board for my range. However, my opponent disagrees and leads into me for $30. It's about quarter pot. He's led into me almost every single hand we played together. But most of the time it's been for like quite large sizing, so I'm gonna raise him here, and I don't know. The bet sizing seems off, so I make it 90, but he quickly makes a call. So off to a turn, which is the 3 of spades. Against most other people, I'll continue barreling on this and then bluff spade rivers, but against this guy, I think I'm just gonna give up and hope for a 10 on the river. So I check it back, and we see a queen of hearts on the river. It's a pretty good card. But now he bets out for 125, and yeah, we just got to fold here. Quite annoying, but we're just going to let this one go and move on. All right, we have the same player that just couldn't find a fold on the Jack 10 hand. We've got pocket queen, so he's limped to 5. I'm going to raise it up pretty big here. I make it 30. Low Jack also calls, and so does a limper. So we're 3 ways to a flop of ace, king, 4, 2 hearts. This is a really good flop for the limp caller's range, and that's why he leads out for $35 here. This session is so frustrating. Just reading these back, remembering it angled, and just all these freaking leads. We fold. On to the next hand. Okay, on to the next hand. I've rebought now, just top of my stack. I'm now in for 1,600 in this game. There is a limp, and I'm just going to limp the king 4 suited behind, try and flop a flush with these guys. The player to my left now raises to $15 over 2 limps, and we go 7 ways to a flop. So it comes out pretty nice, though. King 7-4 rainbow. Really nice. I'm going to check it over to him and go for the check raise, but he checks it back, and so does the button. So off to a turn, which is a 9 of clubs. Pretty good. We pick up the flush draw. So checks to me. I definitely need to start betting here. I make it 60, size up quite a bit here. And now button decides to jam $176 into the middle. Just the way I've been running, I don't think I'm ever good here, but I've got flush drawn 2 pairs, so I just call it off. It doesn't feel good. Go to a river, which is a 10 of spades. I show my hand. My opponent shows the 8-9 offsuit. For the what? We'll take it. Moving things along. Button straddle is live. Small blind, big blind, under the gun, and hijack have all called, and I've got king 9 suited in the cutoff. I raise this thing up to $80, and only the small blind makes the call. He's got about $800, so we're a little bit deep. We go to a pretty good flop of 10-8-7 with a heart. He checks it to me, but somebody that limp calls for $80 is going to smash this flop. A lot of pocket tens, 8-7s, 8-7 suited, 10-9, 8-9 suited, those kind of hands. So I'm just going to check this one back and play some pot control. Off to a turn, which is really nice. It's 7 of clubs, so makes pocket sevens a lot less likely, as well as 10-8 is now counterfeit if I do hit a king. When he checks it to me, I don't think he's got much, so I'm going to start betting here. About half pot sounds good, so I go 110, and my opponent pretty quickly folds, so we're chipping up nicely here. Looking down at an gun plus 2 limp, I've got pocket nines and low jack, and I raise it up to $25. We get 4 callers, so we are 5 ways to a flop of king 4 deuce 2 diamonds. Pretty bad flop for me, so I'm just going to check it over and see a turn, which is the 9 of diamonds. We turn a set, but the flush does get there. Checks me, I definitely want to start betting here and build a pot. I'm not going to go too big as the flush is out there, so 1/3 sounds good. And I get 2 callers in the button and the player to my right. Off to a river, which is the 8 of hearts. Checks to me, and I can't decide really between check calling here or bet folding. But at the end of the day, I just don't see button betting worse for value here. He's not going to bet a hand like king 10. So I'm going to go for some very small value here. It doesn't have to be too big. See if I can get a call from like a 4. I bet 50, and we're going to fold to button if he raises, but probably not to under the gun. But button folds, and under the gun quickly tosses in the call. I show, and it's good. Chipping up a bit more now. All right, the player to my right has limped to $5. Definitely gonna ISO him. I'm doing it even bigger now. I'm making it $30, and folds around to him, and he makes the call. So we're heads up to a flop of king jack 4 rainbow. Surprisingly, he doesn't lead here, and so I'm just gonna check this one back as well. Off to a turn, which is the 10 of clubs, and now he does bet out for 40. Pretty big bet. Not feeling too great about my hand, but no, I got top pair second pair top kicker, as well as a gut shot and an overcard. So I make the call and we're off to a river, which is really nice. Another jack. It looks like he wants to bet, but then checks it over to me. Against this guy, I'm always going huge and I'm never bluffing. So I make it 150. I really should have gone to like 200 or so. He pretty quickly makes a call. I table my hand. He shows the king 9 suited. So I'm actually quite confused why he didn't lead there with top pair. But yeah, happy to take that one down. So we're playing a little bit short-handed now. Cutoff and button have limped. I got 9-5 of diamonds in small blind. This seems like an okay over limp, as big blind is never going to be raising, so it's $3 into a pot of 20. So I call, and big blind also checks. Off to a really nice flop. King 9-4, 2 diamonds. Could not have asked for better. Start with the check here, and it goes to the cutoff who bets 10. Button calls, I call, and big blind also calls. So we're 4 ways to the turn, which is the 8 of diamonds. I check it over, big blind checks, cutoff checks, and now button bets $25. It's pretty small for him. And he doesn't have too much behind. Like I looked over, I thought he had about 100 behind after this. So I'm just gonna raise it up and get it in here. Folds back to him. He goes all in. We call. River is the jack of spades. I show my hand, and unfortunately, he has the queen 6 of diamonds. Shouldn't have played that hand pre-flop. I was like this close to folding it pre-flop. I had it in my hands. I should have done it. Just that. Okay, we're playing like 5-handed now, and hijack is raised to 15. Cutoff is called. I've got king queen suited on the button. Since we're about 400 big blinds deep with hijack, I'm going to size up a little bit here and make it 75. Folds back to him, and he makes a fold, but cutoff makes the call. So we are heads up to a flop. Really nice. Ace 4 deuce 2 hearts. Checks to me. I'm going to bet pretty small here. I make it 50, and he makes the call. Off to the turn, which is no help, is a 6 of clubs, but he checks it to me again, and he's got a pot-sized bet behind. Really don't like bluffing against this player, but what are you going to do? I jam all in, and he pretty quickly folds, so picking up yet another pot. Okay, final hand here. We're actually playing 3-handed for a bit. I didn't get too many hands from that. We're now at 4 or 5-handed. I can't remember, but hijack is limped, cutoff is called. I raise things up to $30, and only the hijack and the cutoff call. So we're 3 ways to a flop of queen 9-8, 2 diamonds. Pretty miserable flop, so I'm going to check it over. Hijack checks, cutoff now bets $50, so a little bit over half pot. Not too in love with this, but I make the call, and hijack folds. Off to a turn, which is the 3 of diamonds. Really not loving this, so I check it over, and he fires out a small bet of 65. I make the call, and we're off to a river, which is the 9 of spades. pretty good card. Some of his two pairs are now counterfeit if he had like Queen 8 suited or something. It also makes sets a lot less likely. So I check it over, and he fires out another bet of 175. Pretty big bet, but against this guy, we just can't fold. Like, he was betting hands for value where he didn't even realize he got counterfeits before. Like, every time he'd make a bet, he'd say, oh, good fold, table his hand. And I was like, you bet pot with that? Like, your hand is, like, very medium strength. So, yeah, he just doesn't really have a clue what's going on. So we are going to have to call this. So I make the call. And unfortunately, he shows the ace-9 with the ace of diamonds. That one's not going to go our way. This is the final hand. After this, I rack up my chips and head out. And the game breaks. I was the fish. I left the table. The game broke. Thank you guys so much for watching me suffer through this session. That is it for the hands for episode 44. Let's go over a couple of the angles. I was pretty tilted leaving the casino, but didn't let it affect my play. However, these people are just not good people. To kick things off, the dealers, they're not poker dealers, right? They were rotating between blackjack, roulette, and like ultimate Texas Hold'em and poker. And they just don't get that much experience dealing the game, and they also have no idea what's really going on. They messed up so many side pots. Like, they just took the smallest stack and just chucked into the main pot without counting anyone else's stack, and then they were lost, and it was just a nightmare. Through all the mistakes they made, they called the pit over 0 times. Not once was pit called to fix anything, or even there's a mistake, nothing. I asked for a rake reduction, and they just went, okay, no problem. It was just weird. So starting off, the guy who was to my right, he moved to my left later, but he folded, he mucked on the river his top pair, before he realized that the other person had a counterfeit 2 pair. And as the dealer's taking his hand and moving it over some muck, he grabbed her hand, pulled the cards out, tabled them, and the dealer goes, oh, you win. Grabs all the chips and just pushes it to him in about half a second. Yeah, so that guy. In this next hand, when I had the 3 deuce of clubs and I shoved my flush, so I looked over at his stack on the, once he called the turn, and he had $220 left in reds. And he was hiding his greens underneath his hand like that. I couldn't see him at all. So when he let out on the river, I didn't even notice that there were greens that bet. I just went, he's got 220 behind, whatever he leads, I'm just going to jam all in. So I just took my stack of greens with about $300 and I just plopped them in as in, no, this is all in. It covers his 220. Then he slides out the greens. I don't even notice he's sliding them out. I just show my hand and I look over and realize that I'm beat. And he goes, okay, I get all of that, the 300. I'm like, no, you don't. I put you all in. You can only win as much as your stack, which is 220. And then I see the greens. And he goes, oh, you were all in? And I'm like, well, no, not really now, because you've actually got, $400, which is a lot more. And then the dealer just says, I need more chips. And then in that second, I was like, you know what? I don't want to be anything like this guy. Just let him have the $200. He clearly needs it. I don't want to fucking deal with this or even appear to come off somewhat like this guy because, man, just what a loser. And then when I had the king jack and flop bottom 2 pair, the person who donk let out in the small blind, he calls out of turn. He knows I'm thinking. I've already asked for a count of his stack, and he goes and flicks a chip in to call with 2 people left to act. Like, yeah, they're all just fucking anglers. And then when I had I think it was king 4 suited, and I just kind of limped to try and get to a cheap flop, and the person to my left raised $15 over like 6 limps, and we all called, and I flopped 2 pair and stacks 1. He looks at me after the hand and goes, I created that pot for you. I'm like, yeah. And he goes, generally when I do that, people will toss me $50. You don't have to, but most people do. And I laughed. Because, I don't know, it's like a kind of funny joke. He wasn't joking. He just kept looking at me, waiting for me to toss him $50 for that pot. Yeah, it was just not very much fun. And the worst part is, the man that angled me for the $200 told me every bad beat story he's ever had since childhood. It was just like 3 hours nonstop of this hand, this hand, this hand, and I just, fuck. But I'm too nice to tell him to shut up, but I get to vent here. So, yeah, that was it. It was not a great session, considering that it was the softest 2-5 game I have ever played. It was even easier than the 1-3 games over here on the mainland. These people were just terrible. But can't win them all. And we still booked a small win, even though we got angled and flushed over flush with hands we really shouldn't have been playing. But we booked a $94 win. They're in for $1,600, out for $1,694. Very small win over a 6-hour session, which is going to bring the bankroll from 13,777 to 13,871. I think that's right. That is it. That's episode 44. I will see you guys all in the next one. I'm going to try to play one more session here on the mainland, either this Thursday or this Friday, so tomorrow or the day after when this video comes out. If you'd like to play with me before I go on my trip, that will be the last 2 times. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it, but I will try my best, and they will both be over at Grand Villa. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys all later.